Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me for this last week on Earth. As you know, the campaign is in full swing, and if you want to be president, you have to be able to be president for the whole country, and that is why I wanted to talk with my old friend, conservative firebrand, Fox News host and correspondent, Tomi Lahren. Hello, Tomi.
Good to see you. By the way, I love how you introduced me as, we have to talk to the other side. I don't want to be here, but we have to talk to the other side. Of course, as conservatives, we're always like, we'll only talk to you to get your perspective, but...
Or to get gotcha questions on us. So, firstly, you've been in LA now for a while. Has it changed you? Are you a vegan now? Are you becoming more liberal? Are you more interested in saving the environment? Or are you still sticking to your guns?
Yeah. Well, I stick to my guns, by the way. I figuratively and literally, I stick to my guns. But no, actually being in LA has reinforced a lot of the conservative principles that I had in Dallas, Texas. And now I see the way the state has been ravaged by the liberals and the Democrats that run the state. So it has encouraged me to dig in even harder in this state and try to fix it, change it, save it.
Ravaged how?
Ravaged by the homeless, by illegals, by literal feces and needles on our beaches and in our streets. And then,
You're not a fan of feces and needles. I find
no,
that
no,
shocking.
we have a lot of them here in LA. There are more in San Francisco. So I guess we could tout that we have the second highest amount of feces and needles in the streets outside of San Francisco. So yay, Southern California.
What would you do to fix the homeless problem?
Well, first of all, I would stop incentivizing illegal immigration because I think that we can't afford to take care of both the homeless and illegals. I think we owe more to our illegals and our homeless vets, or more to our homeless and our vets than we do to illegals. So that's first and foremost. Also,
but the illegals are not shitting in the streets, just for the record.
I mean, I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just saying we owe more to the homeless than we do illegal immigrants.
I agree we need to take care of our own citizens as a higher priority than people that came here illegally. I agree with that.
Here's the
issue.
I
think all need to be treated with humanity. Do you agree
we treat
with that?
everyone with humanity. However, here's the problem. A lot of the homeless problem in California is not just people that are down on their luck. It's not just homeless vets and people that are really struggling, because I know that that affects every state in this nation, people that are just struggling, and I feel for those people. The problem we have here in California is a lot of these people that are on the streets, they're not just down on their luck. They're drug addicts, and they have mental disabilities or mental illness. And so that on itself we need to work on. But as far as letting convicted criminals, ex-cons, druggies, low-level sex offenders, just releasing them out onto the streets so that we can tout our reduced prison population is a mistake, because then you end up with what we have in the streets of Venice, Santa Monica, and elsewhere.
Reagan is the one who did that, for the record.
I'm not saying that I support everything a conservative does.
Sure.
I'm saying in the state of California, Reagan did not implement the policies that we have, like Prop 47 and AB 109 and SB 180, which reclassified.
A lot of numbers. What are those?
They reclassified a lot of felonies as misdemeanors in this state. So, for example, if you go and you rob a small business and you take $900, that's not a felony anymore, it's a misdemeanor. So we've taken those people that otherwise would be in prison, and a lot of them have ended up on the streets, especially drug dealers, drug offenders, sex offenders. They have reduced what used to be more serious crimes to less serious crimes to reduce prison population, but then that has left people on our streets, a lot of which are now the homeless population.
Do you think incarcerating more people is the move?
I think
we incarcerate more people per capita than any nation on Earth.
I agree with that, but we also have a nation that's a lot different than other nations on Earth, and we also are a nation that, unfortunately, we don't have as much of a deterrence as other nations. I'm not saying we should go to the draconian measures of other nations, but other nations, you wouldn't steal, you wouldn't rape, you wouldn't pillage, because the consequences are far greater than they are in the United States of America. So I
didn't even know pillaging was still a thing. That's still a thing?
It's still, people are still pillaging.
They're still pillaging.
People are pillaging right here in the United States of America, but the problem is when we, in California, this is my issue. I understand that they don't want to prosecute addicts. I get it, because they're saying it's an addiction. And I understand that.
They're saying it is
it's
an addiction.
But what they're saying is we don't want to punish addiction, which I get. But then they're also saying we don't want to punish drug dealers. So you can't not punish drug dealers, not punish addicts, and also have open borders. Because then you got a whole lot of problems there that are not being solved and are being worsened.
Well, I don't think we're saying not punishing drug dealers. I'm saying we're not putting them in prison for life and into a prison system that is skewed against minorities, and that is basically a school-to-prison pipeline, and then private prisons that are running this for profit and then having cash bail that disproportionately affects minorities, and they cannot pay it, and they end up getting stuck in this prison system in a very disproportionate way. I think that's some of what we're saying. And so I'm curious what you think about this policy proposal of mine in my campaign. If you want to end corporate crime, and you want to reform our prisons, combine white-collar prisons with regular prisons. put white-collar criminals in with the rest of them. What do you think?
I'm fine with that.
You like
to
it?
me, a criminal's a criminal.
Agreed.
I don't like people that steal from other people. I don't like people that rape other people. I don't like any of that. And I know that there are a lot of conservatives who've become very felon-friendly right now. I don't agree with that.
Why is that, do you think?
I think it's a way for a lot of conservatives to feel good about themselves, to feel like they're appeasing what they see as a minority community. I don't think that that's the way to uplift a minority community, is say we won't imprison you anymore. I think that there are far better ways. Like you said, that the school to prison pipeline is a problem. I think we should be making sure our education system has been fortified, which I know is probably something you agree with as well.
Modernizing our schools big time.
Yeah, so I agree with those things, but I don't think the best thing that we can do for minority communities is to say we won't put you in prison for the crimes you commit.
But do you agree that there is racism in our prison system and in our
has there been past
judicial
racism? Has there
system?
been a perception of
I'm not saying past, I'm saying current.
we're probably not going to agree on a lot of those things. I believe that our law enforcement does an excellent job of keeping our streets safe and our communities safe. The issue I think that we have is that
You just said there's people raping and pillaging in the streets.
well, of course, because our law enforcement has been, in a lot of ways, handcuffed in this state from being able to do the jobs that they are really sworn in to do. So I have an issue with that. I don't think the best thing we can do for minority communities is to say we aren't going to imprison you anymore. I also don't think that the best way to help families that have an issue with the correction system is to say, if we let daddy out of prison, somehow he'll go home and be a good dad. I don't think that's the case. I think in a lot of those cases, the family is the first place to be affected by someone who is a drug dealer, a drug addict.
Well, our
or
prisons have to
otherwise
be much more of correctional facilities and not such punitive systems that just put people, lock them up, and punish them for the rest of their lives.
I think that there's a middle ground. But we could talk about prison reform for the entire podcast, just like we could talk about immigration for the whole podcast, because it's a very passionate issue of mine.
So you've mentioned immigration a few times, so let's talk about that. And we just went off on your show on Fox Nation, which is called No Interruption.
Because I didn't really interrupt you. I let you just go.
Yeah, you did. It was really
I gave
nice of
you free reign.
But we talked a lot about immigration. So tell me, do you agree that we need more humanity in our immigration system?
I believe we need an immigration system that doesn't incentivize illegal immigration, because I don't believe that it's fair or humane to treat legal immigrants the way we treat them, in that we allow illegal immigrants to cut them in line. We allow illegal immigrants to come into this country, whereas legal immigrants wait in line and they pay a lot of money to get here, be here, and be legal. And we are basically saying none of that matters.
We're not saying none of it matters, though. Here's a point that I've always wanted to address with you. I never have gotten to. It's not that we're allowing them to cut the line. If people, it's not like some frivolous thing. People are coming to save their lives, to seek a better life. That's what America stands for, right? America stands for being able to bring your poor, your tired, your huddled masses yearning to be free, to seek a better life in the beacon of hope that is America. And that's what we're supposed to always be. Your family comes from immigrants, so does mine, and we all are immigrants in this country. And so it's not about cutting the line. It's about they're more desperate. They're more desperate and they cannot wait the line. So I say the exact opposite. Those who are waiting in line, if they desperately need it as badly to come here, no one's stopping them from trying to come in around the way either and cut the line. You can cut the line if you have to do so.
You're desperate, you're claiming asylum because you're desperate.
Mm-hmm.
Your communities have been ravaged by gang violence, which I don't disagree with, because a lot of those nations have really huge problems.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, how come then, if you're just coming over here to claim legitimate asylum, how come 90% of you don't show up to your court hearing to go through the process of claiming asylum the legal way? How come you come into this country, you disappear into the shadows, and you never return back? Because to me, that's disrespecting this nation that has allowed you to come into it, that has allowed you to seek that refuge, and then you don't show up for your court
Maybe
date.
it's because they're afraid this president's going to put their children in cages if they do so.
Oh, don't start with that.
Well, it's true.
Don't start with that.
That's 100% true.
No, it's
he had
not.
an official policy of zero tolerance for children and families
This is
brought
what
here.
I'm asking you. If you don't want to be separated from your family, if you don't want to be detained, if you don't like the food that they feed you in detention centers, you don't like the blankets they give you there, don't come to this country illegally. Don't trek yourself or your family across the desert in 115-degree temperatures for a journey that's far longer than the smugglers tell you it is, because I've seen it firsthand.
But
don't do it.
What happened to that humanity you were talking about?
Humanity is don't trek your
you,
family across the desert.
But that's two different issues. I've granted you that we need stronger borders, and I grant you that we can try to tell people you should not come here illegally, but when they do, due to our own flaws in our own border security, once they have crossed that border, they are human beings, and they must be treated as such first. That's the most important priority. Once they are here, then we can figure out how to deal with them and figure out which ones are granted asylum and which ones are deported back. But you don't do it by ripping them away from their children and losing track of whose parents are whose kids and having hundreds of children that are still not reunited with their parents hundreds of days later. How is that the America you want to live in?
The America I want to live in is an America for legal immigrants, first and foremost. Also,
That
I
disrespects human beings along the way?
To me, if you are a parent who is traipsing your kid or someone else's kid, which we found in 30% of those cases, like I mentioned earlier, that do the DNA test that say that that is not an actual family unit, meaning that you are a woman or a man in a lot of cases that took someone else's kid to traipse them across the desert or
with
across
permission
the Rio
to bring them for a better life.
Permission, or were
They
they
didn't
using
kidnap
them?
the children.
Really?
Their parents
Really?
said, please take my child with you to America.
And those kids, a lot of the times in our border agents, which are the true humanitarians, they see these children are terrified, they don't know who they're with, they're now being in a situation where they just got taken against their will, even if they are with a parent, and traipsed across the desert.
They're terrified when they're seen by agents with guns that are about to put them in cages.
I have to
no one's seen them
say this
before
on your podcast. Bullshit, because this is a passion issue for me.
Yeah.
I've seen our Border Patrol agents, and I've seen the rescue missions that they have done. I have seen people in the desert that are weary, that are dehydrated, that are on the point of near death. And our agents, they see our agents, and they say, thank God they see a Border Patrol agent.
Right, because they're that desperate to come to our country. How is that a bad thing?
I'm saying our Border Patrol agents, don't demonize them as these people walking around with guns that are trying to hurt people. They are humanitarians.
I didn't say that. All I'm saying is the only time they are seeing them is when they have their guns with them. So there's no way for them to unbiasedly say that they're scared of the person they're with. They're seeing them with the person and with them with guns. I'm just saying the reality of it is they don't have a clean sample of how the mindset of these children are before the agents interact with them. That's all I'm saying.
What I'm asking you is, do you think as a parent that it is wise to traipse your child across the desert or let's send your children with someone else or with a coyote or a smuggler?
If you think that's going to bring you a better life?
And knowing that they're going to be sexually assaulted along the way?
Well, obviously they're not expecting sexual assault.
No, they are.
Along the way.
They are actually expecting that. That's why they give them birth control along their way. They are expecting it. They know it. They have accepted it.
Having birth control doesn't mean you're expecting sexual assault.
No, that's why they're giving it to their young daughters.
Where's this survey that proves you're going to be sexually assaulted? Go on this journey. Here's some birth control.
Because our Border Patrol agents,
have at it.
Our Border Patrol agents talk to these people as they're incoming. They have an interview process. They have a full process that they go through. And
but
this is what they have
that's
found.
also just 30% you're talking about. That means that 70% are...
1 in 3 women is sexually assaulted on their journey over here. You don't think that's a problem? And we are incentivizing it by saying if you come to this country, 100% of you, family units, will be released into communities. You don't think that's an incentive to come over to this country legally?
You can't say at the same time it's both an incentive and a disincentive. Obviously, sexual assault of any kind is horrible, but people are coming here to seek a better life, not to be sexually assaulted. If that's not a disincentive, then why do you think it's an incentive to be released into the town? You always discount.
They know they just got to get here.
You always discount the disincentives, and then you say that the incentives make them overlook all disincentives. Why? Don't they have a brain that can weigh the difference between the negatives and positives of coming here?
I'm going to tell you this. A lot of
they don't have brains.
The smugglers and the coyotes, when they're getting money from these people to come over here, they are not being told everything that they're going to confront along the way. They're not being told how far it is. They're not being told the extreme conditions that they're going to have to endure because
they do know they're going to be sexually assaulted.
A lot of them have taken that.
They know that part. They just know the distance.
I'm telling you, the coyotes that take their money, they tell them it's just over the hill. I spent time with border agents, spent a lot of time with Border Patrol agents. The coyotes and the smugglers that are taking money from these people, that don't care about these people, by the way. They don't care about them. They're taking their money.
I'm not an advocate of theirs.
But what I'm saying is they take money from these people and they say, you just got to make it over the hill. And then you get into that country and then they'll release you.
Right.
So a lot of people don't understand how bad it is.
You're changing the issue from treating people humanely. You keep saying...
Humanely is treating them, processing them in a way
not in cages, not ripped away from their families, not keeping a record of where they are, who their parents are, and deporting their parents back.
You don't even think we need to record who comes into our country, but you think that our Border Patrol agents...
Of course we do. I said we need as strong borders as we can.
But when you're saying...
It's not either or, though, Tomi.
When you're saying, boy, if you just make it over here, if we weren't able to catch you, now there's your get-out-of-jail-free card, you don't think that's problematic?
No, because they're coming here for a better life, and they mostly are
So
not
what
the
about- so what
rapists
about-
and murderers
so
that
what
Trump
if-
says.
so what if you-
that your boy Trump says they're not rapists and murderers, they're people coming here for a better life with their families. So if they come here and there's a hole in our border and they're coming to save
Well,
their lives,
let's fix the effing
I
hole.
don't disagree with that.
So why don't you want a wall then?
Because a wall is ineffective.
How
People
is it
come-
ineffective?
people
Israel
come-
has a wall.
peop-
It's not effective in Israel?
People come under walls, people go over walls, and it's very expensive and it's been proven to be ineffective over and over and over
It's
again.
not ineffective.
And your boy
It's
can't
not
even build it,
ineffective.
and he also
Oh,
can't.
our boy is building it right now.
He's not. He says he's
Oh,
building
no.
it.
I've been there and I've seen it go up.
And he also said Mexico would pay for it. When's that happening?
Well, guess what? We slapped them tariffs on there and Mexico will pay
But he
for that
hasn't done
wall.
it. He backed off of that.
Because he's
Didn't
going to see if Mexico. He already
He's
said
going to see
he's
if
already
Mexico
threatened
will
it.
by taking it off.
No. He's saying Mexico play ball, and he's given them the benefit of the doubt. And he also said if this doesn't work, then we'll talk about the tariff again.
But if illegally coming to this country is such a problem, didn't your own great grandfather falsify
No, he
documents to
didn't.
come
No, he
here
didn't. No,
and
he
to,
didn't.
to not be deported?
No, he didn't. Which, by the way, you're reading the fake news media incorrectly. No,
That's
my
not
great
accurate.
grandpa came over to this country and he set up to be a frontiersman. By the way, they needed people in the United States of America that
As
want
do
to
we
take
now.
a plot of. No, we
We
don't.
need workers to do jobs that Americans don't
Well,
do.
maybe we should cut off the security blanket for these Americans who don't want to do these jobs because they think they're too good for them because they know that they can live on entitlements. Maybe that's also a problem.
But so why is it okay for your grandfather to
My
falsify
great-grandpa
documents
didn't-
to come
my,
here?
My great grandpa did not come over here illegally. He missed his, by the way, ranching land, which is incredibly difficult. Ranching land with no entitlements, no welfare state, no free healthcare, no nothing. Missed his court date for his naturalization process and signed the document himself. That is a lot different.
And change the date on it.
He's ranching and he's being a frontiersman and
And
a
these people
pioneer.
are coming to save their lives and are only being productive members of society. I'm just saying they're the same. Why is your family's situation okay morally?
Well, because when my grandpa came over here, it wasn't a welfare state where you come over here and you get free health care, you get to walk in any
But that's
hospital
not
you
the
want.
fault
you're
of the
being taken-
immigrants.
No, it's our fault.
Right.
We need to stop incentivizing this.
But that's not the fault
we
of
are
the
a,
immigrants.
we are a, it is a when you come to this country illegally, it is your fault, a choice. But I agree with you, we are incentivizing it, we are allowing it to happen, we are not stopping it, and it needs to be stopped.
I don't think it needs to be
for
stopped
their benefit
treating
and
people
ours.
humanely when they come here. You have to treat people humanely. Giving them health care so they don't die in this country that's supposed to be this beacon of hope where you come to save your life is something that America should stand for and does stand for. I mean, you're not even willing to grant citizenship just blanketly, not for a compromise deal, to dreamers who were brought here as children against their own will. Their families brought them here, have spent their entire lives as Americans without paperwork in this country, have been law-abiding citizens since they were kids. How can we not at least give them citizenship? Isn't that something we can all agree on both sides?
And our president has offered that.
He pulled it back. That was
because
some
the
bullshit.
Democrats won't come to the table. You have to have bargaining chips. The Democrats won't.
You don't bargain with people's lives. You just do things because they're right. Does Trump ever do anything that's right just because it's right to do?
Protects the American people. That's what his job is. His job isn't to protect illegal immigrants. His job is to protect the American people.
But he is not. He doesn't do that because he swore an oath
I'm going to ask you this. We have 130,000 homeless people, and you think
Yeah.
that those people should come after the illegal immigrants.
I did not say that. I said we have to prioritize our own citizens.
But we're not.
But we have to also deal with both at the same time. And
So we already have 11 to 22 million illegals in this country. How many more do you want?
I want as many as get through trying to save their lives
As many
to
as
be
get
treated
through.
well. Yes.
But do you realize that you're basically it's a challenge and a brownie point?
No,
if
it's
you
not.
get through illegally, we'll take care of you.
No, it's not a challenge. This isn't
It's
the
like
ice bucket challenge.
It's like going to prison and being like, if you guys can get out, you're free.
It's like not, well, that's
No,
true.
it is.
That's also
Yeah,
true.
If you can dig your way out, now then we'll release you in the community. Good for you. You got out.
Because the criminals are in there because they did bad things. Illegal immigrants are here because they're seeking a better life.
And they paid thousands and thousands of dollars to a coyote or a smuggler to get over here.
Do what you can to get here.
And what do you think that thousands and thousands of dollars to coyotes and smugglers goes to? Criminal organization. You don't know.
Great.
Okay.
Drugs?
Yeah, and you think that helps their country? You think that by bolstering the criminal organizations in their own country, that's helpful for the people that are still living there?
No, but we can break up those cartels and
How?
those organizations.
How?
Not by punishing families that are here in
So
America.
we should just continue to allow them to fund the cartel and the criminal organizations and the sex traffickers and the human traffickers? We should just let illegal immigrants continue to bolster the business of criminal organizations?
No, we should allow people safe haven here and allow them...
So open borders.
No, not open borders. You
Then-
protect your borders. You allow people to come here through ideally official channels. But when they come here, we're talking about two different things. When they come here as families, as people striving for a better life to save their lives from dangerous societies, we just say, okay, welcome, you're here. We hug them.
How do we
Give them a
delineate?
fruit basket.
I need to ask you this,
You don't
Ben.
rip them away from their families.
Give them a fruit basket.
Give 'em a fruit
You
basket.
and Gavin Newsom are on the same. We could talk about this all day. If you want to spend the whole
So,
podcast
no,
on
I would
volume,
love
we
to
can
shift
do it.
topics. So You said that Donald Trump is keeping America safe and prioritizing America first.
Yep.
But he does not do that. He just yesterday on an interview with George Stephanopoulos said that he is willing to take more information from foreign adversarial governments against our own country, in our own elections, meddling into our elections. Did you like hearing that from the president?
First of all, when he said that,
Yes or no, did you like hearing
he's not saying I want to collude with a foreign government.
He's going to
He's saying
accept
if he has information
dirt on our country from foreign adversaries. That used to be the basic thing that we would never do, even as a campaign, let alone the president, who took an oath to protect the sovereignty of our nation.
I don't believe with colluding with other nations. That is correct. I also don't believe in paying for a dossier and then using that to prompt a FISA court warrant to surveil American citizens.
Great.
Issue with that.
Well, okay. Again, I think that there was good evidence that the Trump campaign
Through the they used the dossier actually.
The Trump campaign and the fact that
Golden
Trump,
showers, that was their evidence.
The fact that Trump also live on television said,
"Oh no, you're not going to do this again."
Yeah,
when he was
Trump live on television said, "Russia, if you're listening, please hack Hillary's emails, please." Right, and then 5 hours later they began doing that. That's not a joke. He literally gave them a directive. Then why did they start doing it 5 hours later?
It was first of
Why?
all, they
People
started
take action from jokes all the time?
They started when under Obama. Obama was very aware of Russia meddling, and if he was so concerned about the integrity of our elections, why did he not do anything?
He did do something. He expelled the diplomats.
He must have been ineffective in that as he was with everything else in his presidency.
But again,
we also have sanctions on Russia, which are stronger under this president than past presidents.
We are not debating Obama and Hillary. Even
what
if I grant you all those points.
If Donald Trump wants to work with Russia so much, then why has he been tougher on Russia than past presidents?
He has not been under duress and under force of some good-minded people in his administration. He has approved
but how come you
sanctions
say
that
he just does what he wants, but then other times it's because he's under duress?
Because you can see somebody's intentions and actions. When somebody speaks their own mind and says right next to Vladimir Putin in Helsinki, "I trust you over our own intelligence agencies," and I don't know, and I don't know why. I have no reason to not believe you. How about the fact that he's a murderer, and how about the fact that he used to be the head of the KGB, and how about the fact that he actually, all 13 of our intelligence agencies all agree that they did interfere in our elections? That's exactly the reason to distrust what he's saying. But he doesn't. His loyalty is to rich, corrupt business people, to oligarchs, so he can build a Trump Tower in Moscow. How did you feel hearing your president say that?
You really think that he ran for president so he could build a Trump Tower in Moscow? You really think
he ran for president because he's an egomaniac and because he wants to be the most powerful person in the world?
You're running for president, you egomaniac?
Because I'm trying to fix that and stop that. I'm trying to actually, for once, have a regular person in office, somebody who actually is also a comedian, who are known for speaking truth to power, unlike the corrupt business people and career politicians who are known for lying. Comedians tell you the truth. That's what I'm trying to do. I already have a very good life and a career that I love, and a TV show and a touring stand-up career, and I'm risking all of that to throw my hat in the ring only because I believe a comedian might be needed to take down Trump because he's the greatest heckler in American political history and no one knows how to handle him.
Though. What's your favorite nickname? Let's have some fun.
For Trump?
No, for
I got some great ones for Trump.
No, his nicknames for others because he is the king of nicknames. What's your favorite nickname that he has bestowed upon?
I don't know. Sleepy Joe's pretty good for Biden because he's falling asleep midway through every sentence Biden says. It's kind of strange to me. But I also have some great ones for Trump. I'm curious your thoughts about them. What do you think about this one? Crybaby Donnie. You like that one? He cries and whines about everything.
No, I don't think that fits.
How about this? Toupee Fiasco. Pretty good. Pretty good. How about this one? Coward the Duck. Pretty solid. Didn't want to fight in our wars because he had bone spurs in his feet. Coward the Duck seems pretty fitting. How about Traitorous Trump? How about that one? Pretty solid? Because he does not seem to be loyal to our own country directly in the face of the oath he took for our country. It's supposed to be America first. If it's supposed to be America first, why is that behavior okay? Do you condemn Trump?
I don't condemn Trump, period.
When he says those two things?
I don't condemn Trump.
Those individual things. You just said recently in our interview on your show that you don't approve everything he does.
I don't approve everything he does. I think that the First Step Act is a disaster. This prison reform is a disaster. It's letting more criminals out into our streets.
So the one thing that was bipartisan he did to actually create prison reform is the one thing you don't agree with. But you do agree with him saying that he would take more information.
I also don't agree with which he hasn't done because his goal is to get troops out of Syria. I don't agree with increased aggression or putting our troops again in foreign wars in the Middle East. I don't agree with that. Donald Trump doesn't either, but there's a lot of neocons in his administration that are very war hungry that
Oh, so
want.
you're doing the same thing you accuse me of, is that you give him credit when it's things that you like, but then things you don't like, you say it's his administration. So
No,
we both
no,
just did
because
that.
he's very, very explicitly said when he was running and now, and when he didn't want to, he wanted to take troops out of Iraq and Syria. He said that not too long ago.
And he very explicitly says that there's no reason to believe that Russia.
No, he
tried
said
to
that he
interfere
said
in
that's
our
why
coun-
he didn't. No, what he clarified is he didn't say that they didn't interfere. He said that's not why he won. It's not why he won the election.
No, he specifically said right next to Putin.
No, and he
told me
clarified
he
it,
didn't do
and that
it,
was
and I
in-
have no reason to believe he did.
And that was in Helsinki, and the next day he
Right.
said,
Committed treason live on television.
No, he did not.
The definition of treason is giving aid and comfort to your enemies
Okay.
at the cost of our own country and our own sovereignty. That's the definition.
The
of
next day he came out and said, I trust our intelligence agencies. Russia did meddle in our election, but that is not why I won.
And he even flipped a word to actually flip that. Remember that? He hand wrote a word on that note that actually flipped the meaning of that. And he said, I don't have any reason. He still stuck by his line. He tried to apologize and crossed off the apology and changed the word. His instinct is not to care about anything but himself and
Okay.
anything that can aggrandize himself to that next level. He always does that.
Okay.
So let's shift even climate change, okay? Something that he says is a hoax. You agree that the climate is in peril, do you not?
Again, like we discussed, I don't believe that there is a man-made climate apocalypse that's going to end the world in 12 years.
But you're basing that on what? The scientists of the world do agree
They say
with
that we're going to end in 12 years.
No,
so
they said
Ben Gleib.
they didn't say that.
Oh,
They
that was
said-
AOC. That was the
No,
brainchild of your party.
No, she's somebody who fites for regular people.
She
I
fights
don't know
for
why the
regular people
disdain
while
for regular
asking.
people.
She fights for regular people while asking for a pay increase because she makes $174,000 a year, and she thinks she deserves more as a member of Congress. You don't think that's a little BS, Ben
I think
Gleib?
that is BS. I
And
grant
that's
you
what
that. I
she's
didn't even know that, and
you
that's
know,
BS. I grant you that.
Yesterday.
But I grant points that make sense on both sides.
How
So
does
I
that
grant
make
you
sense?
that.
You think
I'm
Congress should
granting
make
you
more
that.
money?
No, I disagree with that. I'm granting you that point. That's ridiculous.
But she's just trying to fight for middle class average people.
But she's also doing that. You can't argue that she's not doing that. She is a middle class
Actually,
average
she-
person.
you didn't
She was a
see
bartender a year ago.
Did you see the billboards in Times Square of the job creation network that's like, thank you AOC for moving all these, by her idiocy, moving those Amazon jobs that would have gone to her community. She ran them out through her nonsensical bullshit.
Okay, but let's stick for a minute on climate. So
Climate,
we
yes.
do not say that the world is done in 12 years, but the UN climate report, with the consensus of the scientists of the planet, they say that if we do not reverse course on these things within 12 years, we will cross a point of no return,
what do you
and there will be
think we
mass
should do?
death, mass migration, and mass economic problems in every single place. So
what do
you
you think
agree
we
with
should
the
do?
scientists of the world, or are you just making up in your brain that you don't, and then
First of all, there is
Tomi
disagreement.
Lahren
There
science
is
besides
disagreement
that.
within the scientific community.
No, it's 2%
No, there
of
actually
scientists, and 98%
But there
agree.
is disagreement because what they like to say is there is a consensus between all scientists. There's a consensus that our globe is warming.
No.
There is not a consensus that it is man-made.
That is not
There
true.
is not a consensus that it is
98%
apocalyptic.
that is not true.
There is not a consensus that it
true.
is not due to the
The
natural
U-
cooling and heating of the globe.
The UN
There's
climate
not a
report
consensus. The
says-
UN, the almighty UN, the cure-all for
It
all
was
things.
funded-
What has the UN ever done that has been effective or that has?
The UN is the organization the world
They're an
has
organization,
empowered.
so they're a mouthpiece.
We send a representative to the UN, right?
And what
an ambassador to the UN.
And what has the UN done for?
The UN tries to fight for the interests of
Have
the
they
globe.
done it?
But they didn't write the report themselves. The scientists of the
the
world.
scientists.
Why do you speak with disdain about scientists?
Because it's always this is always this line, this
But
talking
it's
point.
true.
All the scientists agree. No, all the scientists
98%.
don't agree. They agree that the globe
98%.
is warming. They don't agree
98%
on the
agree it's
factors,
man-made.
the variables, and they don't agree
That's
that
not true.
that it is. They don't agree.
98% agree it's man-made. 98% agree it's man-made. That man.
So should we stop having children? Should we shut down industry?
we should shut down the fossil fuel industry and,
So
and shift
I don't want to
off
see you
of
drive
it.
anymore, Ben Gleib. I don't want to see you roll up here in a vehicle.
Oh, as soon as I can afford an all-electric vehicle, I'm all for it. I love it. We should shift off of it. Do you not think we should shift off of a dirty supply that is sapping the earth of its resources and polluting our environment and causing global change, global
I think
climate change?
we should encourage innovation and technology, which is
Right.
done through a capitalistic society, not the socialist society that many of the Democrats in your field would
I
like
agree
to
with
advance.
you,
Because
that,
innovation
but I
doesn't
also
come from
agree with you that
socialism.
it's both. It's meaning both. Do you not agree that we are both?
That
we are
what?
both capitalist and socialist.
We have a welfare state, which is unfortunate, but I don't believe we are socialist.
It's unfortunate to have any welfare state.
And to have a welfare state is unfortunate to me. Yeah.
You think it's bad to help people when they're downtrodden?
No, having a welfare state in which people are living and dying on welfare is a problem. Yeah.
So why is welfare only okay when it's for corporations?
I don't believe in corporate welfare.
But we give corporate subsidies all the time. Should we end all of them?
First of all, when you subsidize I don't believe in that full stop, by the way. But when you have industry that collapses, or you have a company that collapses, in the case of the auto industry, that's because if it were to collapse, there would be thousands and thousands and thousands of average middle class and lower class Americans that would be affected by that. If I take the welfare off of someone who's been living on the welfare system on entitlements and food stamps for their entire life, and saying now you need to get a job, there's a work requirement to that, that's not going to take away jobs from thousands and thousands of other people. So do I believe in full stop corporate welfare? No. But do I believe that you can't let certain companies fail because then you're actually impacting and hurting thousands of people? There's a difference there.
But do you see how there's never a focus in our policies in helping the average worker and the average person, the average American as the goal? It's only the corporations. I'll give you the example, and I called this out and wrote articles about it back when we did the big bank bailouts, right? The big Wall Street bailout. We only gave the money that gave all these subprime mortgages that ruined the world economy and collapsed us for a long time in this country as well, of course, largely here. And we gave them $800 billion to bail them out. But we didn't do anything to help the people that held the mortgages, right? That were given those crappy mortgages by the banks. And I suggested, why don't we just do one extra step and give that money of the bailout to the mortgage holders and require that they immediately pay their mortgage with it, so the money immediately also goes to the banks.
They did it through a stimulus package, which is what they did do, which was the intent of the stimulus package under George W. Bush.
The stimulus package did not help the average person. They did some infrastructure. They did not actually help people with the mortgages. They said, screw you, your home's getting taken away, and you just deal with it. We never actually try to help the people while solving the larger problem. That's insane to me.
And I don't disagree with you, but a lot of the reason why this happened, I'm not giving banks or anybody a free pass on this, but what I'm saying is a lot of people were living outside of their means, which is why they fell victim to predatory lending, which, by the way, I'm not saying is right. I'm not saying that the banks are right in that. Absolutely not. But a lot of Americans were, and this is a problem we're going to face now if we have this rise of entitlement and socialism, is people thinking that they can afford things they can't afford, and they live beyond their means because someone else should just pay for it. You should have free college because someone else will pay for it. Free healthcare because someone else will pay for it. I don't believe in that kind of society.
Why can every other nation on earth give healthcare to its citizens, every other rich nation on earth?
I want you to look in the United States of America, because we're dealing with our country and the variables that exist in our country, which are unlike any other country in the world, first of all. Second of all, if you look at what we actually have, an example of socialism or socialist universal healthcare in the United States of America, it's the VA. And the VA is run horribly. It's managed horribly.
It's underfunded.
Well, it's not just because it's underfunded. It's because it's mismanaged.
But you could solve it if you funded it properly.
No, but you still have mismanagement. You still have
You keep bloating your military budget, and you don't take any piece of that to make sure that the veterans that fight so hard for our nation,
I agree.
and we promise them when they sign up, we will take care of them, and we do not honor that very core promise.
You know what those veterans want? They want to be able to go to a private healthcare facility. They don't want to go to the VA because they know that the government runs the VA very poorly. So all these veterans, trust me, they want to be compensated. Because
they're underfunded.
Not just because they're underfunded. There are far more problems in the VA besides just being underfunded. There is the administrators of the VA, people that work in the VA, the nurses of the VA. There are a lot of issues in the VA, and that's why, because it's run by the government. If you look at the U.S. Postal Service, run by the government. Would you rather go to the U.S. Postal Service? I think
Postal Service is great. You get to mail anything for 35 cents. It's incredible.
Would you rather, if you had something that you wanted to ensure got there, would you rather go to the Postal Service or UPS or FedEx?
I always go to Postal Service. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. And my campaign has a P.O. box, and I loves it. And it's at the USPS.
Okay.
It's very exciting. So you do agree that even if we can debate the margins of these issues, but do you agree that it should be something that the planet, conservatives, you admit that conservatives means conserve. We should conserve the planet, and we need to drastically take on the...
Drastically is where we're gonna.
But we don't have time to not drastically take it over.
Yeah, but you tell that to the coal worker that supports
their family. So if we find them jobs in renewable energies, then you're fine with getting off fossil fuels?
You find them an effective renewable energy,
right?
And you can take people that have worked in that industry their entire life and supported their family on that,
and retrain them.
And you can retrain them, and you can. And first of all, you're gonna have to give them welfare and benefits because you can't just retrain someone and take away their mode of living. You can't do that. That's not going to work. So you're going to have to figure out a way to subsidize them in the process, which is going to be a disaster.
Why? But you said you can do it for the poor people that you want to take away their welfare, make them just find a job. So what's the difference?
If you've been living on...
If you're trying to save the planet,
If we're
isn't that a very urgent thing we have to do? Regardless, we'll do our best to make sure everybody has a job. I'm in favor of
I don't believe in having these drastic measures that are going to result in hardworking people losing their entire mode of income and just ripping it out from underneath them because people like you and AOC think that we have a drastic issue and we are going to end the world in 12 years, so we need to pull away people's mode of living. No, I don't believe in that.
It's just science. It's
Okay.
just science. The
It's
world.
just
Okay,
science.
so 2 last questions.
And I really have to go.
2 last questions for you to wrap it up. To what degree does it bother you? When I was on your show I asked you this on your show too, but when I was on your show in Dallas and you had a basket with the
Of
word
lies.
lies in it, because Hillary, you were talking about one lie during her Benghazi hearing. Donald Trump has lied.
Well, Hillary's lied a lot more than just...
But she's not president.
Thank God.
Donald Trump has lied 10,700 times in his 2 years in office. Is that a problem for you?
Again, when you talk about lies, you're putting up a narrative, which is 10,000 lies, and you're including a lot of those lies being the size of my crowd at my inauguration.
Yeah, any
was
lie. Should
bigger.
the president be lying that much?
If you're going to tell me that lying about the size of a crowd is akin to lying about deleting your emails, then I'm sorry. We're going to disagree.
That's not the only lies that he makes. He says, I had no business in Russia. Lies to the American people during the campaign to get elected. Then he was actually actively trying to build a Trump Tower in Russia. That's a substantive lie. Does that one bother you?
We're going to have a long conversation.
Does that lie bother
on
you?
this.
Does that lie bother you?
Again, I think he became president of the United States so we could build a Trump Tower in Moscow.
No, but did he
I
lie
don't think
about
he's
it to the American
benefiting from
people?
his presidency.
But did he lie about it to the American people?
I need to look at the particulars of that before I can agree because the
You've
narrative...
seen the clip where he says, I have no business in Russia. And it was a lie, directly.
And what they were trying to get him to say is he has business in Russia, he's going to benefit from being president, that he's got all these investments in Russia, which is not true. He doesn't have investments in Russia.
That wasn't the question.
I need to go.
Okay, so the last question is this.
No, I really do need to go, though.
The final question.
It has to be a fast question.
Very fast. Do you agree that we have to stop being so blindly partisan and we have to go issue by issue?
I do agree
and
on that.
we have to bring the country together as
I do
our
agree on
focus?
that.
So do you think you can try a little bit to have your default mode be to give the benefit of the doubt to people on the left or the right and just try to realize we're all trying to get along and make success for our lives?
Which is why, Ben Gleib, I have invited you on my show not once, not twice, but
This is
probably
true.
3 times at this point, and I've advocated for giving you a platform because
This is
I
true.
believe in dialogue and discourse.
I love that. Will you vote for me?
I think I will give you this. You are my favorite Democrat in 2020.
I'll take it.
I will give you that much, but that's all you're
If
going to
Trump
get
gets
from me.
impeached, you're going to vote for me? Maybe?
Trump's
Consider
not going
it?
to get
But if he
impeached.
did, you might vote for me.
I'm going to leave it at you're my favorite Democrat in 2020.
I will take it.
But
Thank
I'm
you so
still
much for
Trump
your time.
2020
And
all the
in
way.
your book, please plug it. You have
Yes,
a book coming out.
I
It's
do.
called Don't Play Dead.
Never play dead.
Never Play Dead.
Never play dead. How the truth makes you unstoppable.
I love that. We have to stay with truth.
We do.
We have to
July
reject
2nd.
lies. July 2nd it comes out.
July 2nd.
Reject all lies. When someone lies, that's an indication of their character. When they speak truth, that's how you know they're real. You keep it real. I keep it real.
There we
Trump
go.
needs to stop lying. That's the
Okay.
point of your book.
All right. Nope. But here we are.
Thank you, Tomi.
Thanks, Ben.